Well, greetings everyone. I have some sad news, concerning the quality of health that most people are losing because most of us aren't aware. We think that the FDA is our friend. We think that Monsanto and DuPont and all these others are, helping the earth. The chemtrails are keeping us from being overheated and such, but I do have a health report that I'd like to give. If you'll just listen, please do, for the sake of your loved ones, for the sake of your own self. Okay, the Holy Scriptures, and this is about Holy Scriptures, but this here is more about your fruits, your vegetables, your juices, your dairy products and such. Most every processed food they put this potassium sorbate into. I want to discuss a little bit about this, explain it to you, so you might be able to escape what it says here in 1 Corinthians 3:16. It says, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of the Father, and that the Spirit of the Father dwelleth in you?" And now I just brought out my last video about the Spirit. That's the Spirit of our King now, because the Father turned all things over to the King. And get out of here, Beelzebul. But anyway, it's the Father of our King that dwells in you, and that Spirit is the law. So here in 1 Corinthians 3:17, it re-emphasizes and puts a little bit more mandates on what you're to do with this holy temple that you are, that houses this Holy Spirit. And it says, "If any man defile," and that means man or woman, "defiles the temple of the Father, him shall the Father destroy. For the temple of the Father is holy, which temple you are." Okay, so we need to be careful what we put into this holy temple. If we defile it, we may not be accepted. And the reason why I say may is because if you're ignorant, right now our King is like winking at your ignorance, but he tells you to grow up here too, okay? So anyway, I was given these here Sunsweet Amazon prunes. They're pitted, and right up here it tells, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it talks about the prunes, and then they add this potassium sorbate to it. And you'll find it also, this here was brought over. I didn't drink any of this, of course, but this is all the apple cider. I haven't found any apple cider this year that doesn't have vitamin C, which is most likely going to be GMO produced, because most of your vitamin C comes from GMO corn. So you're eating glyphosates when you eat those things. But anyway, right here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it talks about, it's just basically contains pasteurized apple cider, potassium sorbate added for freshness. Now I want to show you where this here is screwing up your DNA if you're using it, if you're drinking it. It's actually messing up your DNA. It's messing up your genetic code, and it can lead, and most likely is leading, to all sorts of mental diseases, physical diseases, mutations, deformities, things of this sort. And I know that people will say I'm really stretching things out here, but they're not going. You're going to see they're very sly with these poisons, this Agenda 21, to kill you off. And I do highly recommend that anyone that hasn't done research on the Georgia stones, okay, I hope that you might do so, because it tells you that they're going to maintain a population at 500 million people. That's 1/2 billion, and they claim there's over 7 billion people on the earth, but they want to maintain a population of 1/2 billion. That's a whole lot. That's over 6.5 billion that's got to die. This is how they're going to do this. This is one of the many ways, okay? Now, under Wikipedia here, I didn't want to go to this one yet. I already did this video once, and And then I got a phone call right at the very end, and I can't go ahead and edit, so I don't know how. So anyway, I decided to just start this over again. Now, potassium sorbate, here in Wikipedia, it says potassium sorbate is a potassium salt of sorbic acid, And then down here it says, while sorbic acid is naturally occurring in some berries, okay, it's naturally occurring in some berries. They're not saying that that's where this is coming from. It says virtually all of the world's production of sorbic acid, from which potassium sorbate is derived, is manufactured synthetically. Okay, so it's not even a natural ingredient. It's a preservative, they call it. It's kind of like if you've got a movie and there's a certain actor in there, you know, say it's supposed to be Atlas, or, you know, some famous general or something of this sort. It'll say the star's name and then say as, or acting as, whatever. And that's what they're saying this potassium sorbate is that it is used as a preservative, but it's manufactured synthetically. It's not natural. What is natural comes from berries in the source of sorbic acid, from which the potassium sorbate's derived, but it's manufactured synthetically. They could get it from some berries, but they don't. They manufacture this out of other chemicals and such. That's what they do. Now, the uses here, it says potassium sorbate is used to inhibit molds, yeast, and many foods, such as cheese, wine, yogurt, dried meat, so on and so forth. It's used in the preparation of items such as hot cake syrup and milkshakes served by fast food restaurants, such as McDonald's. So, you know, if you're eating, you know, pancakes and you have a milkshake with it, you know, it's most likely in your pancakes too, but you also got it in the syrup, and then you got it in, and what they do is they give you, you know, certain amounts of this, and it builds up in your body. It doesn't leave you. It's kind of like the phosphorus and the phosphates that I brought out a video on before. They build up in your system. They don't clear out naturally. There are ways I think you can draw them out. Our Heavenly Father would not have allowed them to put something there, I think, that would harm us and keep us harmed permanently. Our holy temples, He tells us to cleanse ourselves, you know, so I believe there is a way to get rid of these things, but please don't be putting them into your body. Okay, so anyway, this potassium sorbate, it's in most everything. Okay, your dried fruits and all these kind of things, apple sauces and fruit juices, sodas, all these different things as a preservative. It's a deadly poison as a preservative because it kills everything in, you know, the molds and things. It inhibits it. It kills it. Anyway, it's also known as a stabilizer for wine. Potassium sorbate, what they do, first they'll put nitrates or sulfites, a mixture of both, you know, into a mash, say your apple juice or grape juice, whatever, to kill off any of the yeast, foreign yeast, microbes and such. They'll add these things first. They'll kill off any form of culture that could grow in the wine. After 24 hours, then they could safely add the yeast that they desire to ferment their wine with. And when the wine has reached the amount of alcohol, due to the CO2 process, making the alcohol and everything by the yeast, and they got a certain flavor they want to keep, they'll add this potassium sorbate to it. Okay, it's a chemical concoction. All the wine in the stores, every bottle, I'm sorry, you go down and you look, you'll see they all have sulfites. Okay, they all do, every one of them. They got sulfites, they got nitrates. They're deadly poisons. They kill everything off. It's still in there, and you're drinking it, not even thinking anything, because the FDA approves these things so that you can die. And when you go to the hospital, you go to the doctor having these here symptoms and such, okay, like it says right here, under toxicology for this potassium sorbate. Potassium sorbate is a skin, eye, and respiratory irritant. Okay, and it said so up here also, I believe, maybe. No, it's in a different one, I believe. Yeah, there's a different, up here I want to show you this as well. But anyway, it has a skin, eye, respiratory irritant. And it talks about the different things that it does cause. It doesn't get into a whole lot of it on Wikipedia here. You need to look other places. But anyway, it says, under the conditions, particularly at high concentrations or when combined with nitrates, which is what they also put in your wine. They put the nitrates and the sulfites in there before they start the fermentation process. To stop it, they'll add the potassium sorbate, which is combined then with these nitrates. And then it's shown to cause this genotoxicity. Okay, and what genotoxicity is, it says it describes the property of chemical agents that damage the genetic information within a cell. That's called DNA, okay? That it damages your DNA when you drink these store-bought wines. But they put out these surveys saying wine is great for you. And it actually is if you're not drinking the stuff with the crap in there, you know, the poisons, these deadly toxins. It says which may lead to cancer. So they're saying that that's what's taking place when you got this genotoxicity, which comes from the nitrates and the potassium sorbate being added, mixed together in your wine. And that's just one instance. You'll find nitrates and, you know, these things mixed with potassium sorbate in many ingredients on many products that you put into your family's body and into your own holy temple that we're not to defile. It's causing mutations in your DNA. That is defiling your holy temple. I don't care what way you look at it. So please be careful with these things. While genotoxicity is often confused with mutageneticity, all mutagens are genotoxic, whereas not all genotoxic substances are mutagenetic. The alteration can have direct or indirect effects on the DNA. The introduction of mutations, mistimed event activation, and direct DNA damage leading to mutations, okay? The permanent heritable changes can affect either somatic cells or the organism or germ cells, be passed on to future generations. These are some of the things it talks about, you know, when we sin. Okay, some of our sins are passed on down generations, you know, down to 4 or 10 generations. These sins are passed down to our children, and our children's children, and our children's children. Okay, please, let's stop doing these things. Anyway, that's what this genotoxic is. Now, to wrap this up, I'd like to show you something here from Doctor's Health Press. This here is under potassium sorbate. It says common side effects of potassium sorbate. Talks about what potassium sorbate. They also agree that it's for you know, things that they claim as a preservative. But it also talks about, it says here, while it's been known that the chemical can cause problems for people with potassium allergies. Yes, they do build up these potassium allergies because They're synthetic to begin with. They get trapped into your body and your cells. They cause these permanent mutations, okay, when it's mixed with things like nitrates. But I'm going to show you something here that's going to blow your mind, and it's going to make you pissed right off when you see, you know, the dangers of drinking something that's supposed to be very beneficial for your body. It's going to blow your mind. When you see it, you'll be pissed, and if you ain't, you got to be brain dead. That's all there is to it, you know, because I seen it, and I got so sick, I got so ill, I had to go lay down, and I spent a couple hours on bed there. I couldn't cope with it. It's like, I can't believe it. I just could. It made me instantly ill just reading what they've done. Uses of potassium sorbate. Okay, it talks again about to prohibit or prevent the fungi, the molds, a wide range of foods without breaking down, and it has no taste or smell, making it a popular food additive. Okay, it's kind of like arsenic there, you know, or the widow maker. The widow, you know, before she was a widow, she put a little teeny bit of arsenic there, you know, into a guy's meal, you know, so she could be released from his law, I guess, get out from under it. And every day for months and months and years sometimes, just a little teeny bit, and it builds up and builds up until finally that itty bitty bit just, you know, causes him to get the dirt patted down on his face, you know. I mean, he takes that big permanent dirt nap because it built up the last little bit of it, which is the same thing that occurred with me with pyrophosphates. These phosphates build up in you. I don't know if potassium sorbate is just another name for these phosphates, but it does say that when potassium sorbate is combined with a phosphate, it becomes a pyrophosphate, which they put in your tuna fish, and that's what almost killed me. And that's what put me on this journey to figuring out what these things are all about. But anyway, products like cheese, yogurt, ice cream, all these different things, potassium sorbate in food is very common. Meaning, you know, the FDA says, oh, you could only put this amount in there, you know. But the thing is, when you're, you know, eating your prunes, you eat your prunes, okay, that's got the potassium sorbate on it, and then you wash it down with some, you know, apple cider or maybe some milk, maybe some yogurt or whatever you mix. That's got potassium sorbate as well in it. You know, you're adding on top and on top and on top. And like it had said earlier, I don't know if I had showed it or not, but it had discussed, you know, at higher doses that, like it says, particularly at higher concentrations or when combined with nitrates, it goes into this genotoxic activity. So the higher concentrates is when you're eating several different varieties of things and you're getting your daily dose out of each one of them that, you know, the FDA recommends that you eat these poisons. You know, they have them in your food so you will, so that you'll die. And when you get these high concentrations, you can have this genotoxicity taking place. It does deform your DNA. It'll shut down your kidneys after a while. But anyway, it talks about it's in beauty products, it's in winemaking and such, which we discussed. Okay? Is it a harmful toxin? Preservatives are necessary to extend the life of many foods. Well, they don't need these things in there. They're telling you they do. We've been, you know, we've been alive on this earth for thousands of years. Preserving has only been a thing, you know, that's really been known for the last couple thousand years, where they would take glass, you know, crock pots or whatever, and they would seal the top with their juice or something inside it after they boil it, and they put it down into a bottom of a pond where it's cool, you know, so it wouldn't ferment, and that way they would have juice at other times. That's how they preserved it. Okay, they didn't need to add poisons and toxins to it to say it's there as a preservative. I mean, it's not. It's there to kill you. But anyway, it talks about, once again, it's in all these different things. It says, as well, mold and fungi in food are potential health hazards. They're potential. Okay, now the potassium sorbate is definite. It will. It is a hazard. Okay, it talks about how eating mold can get you sick and this and that and the other thing. Now, the one thing I want you to get out of this, please, people, please, 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 please pay attention to this. This got me so sick, man. I had to go and, and boy, I tell you, I mean, I couldn't even think. I mean, it rattled my brain. It just disturbed every fiber in my body. It's like, my word. It says, another study highlighted more potassium sorbate dangers. Okay, the FDA lets it go in your food, and it's danger. Danger, Will Robinson. But they don't care. They want you dead. They've got all kinds of caskets, that they've got just stacked, piled up, and, some of them will seat like 5 or 6 corpses. So, they got you covered there. When you go to the doctors and they see that you got these symptoms, well, they're not trained in dietary things. They're trained to prescribe you more of these concoctions, these potions, these wizardry things, these things of the sorcerers, okay, to totally screw you up, and they have no idea, because they most likely won't even have a test for potassium sorbate in a lab. Okay, it's the same thing with phosphorus or phosphates. They don't have a testing for you to go to a lab to find out how high your levels are, and the reason they don't is because the stuff's in everything. And if you could prove that you had these high levels, because the FDA allowed them to put it in your food to kill you, then you might be able to take them to court. So they don't have a test for it. Believe me, I tried. Give a call to the poison center. Say, hey, I think I might have got phosphate poisoning. Is there a laboratory test or something that we can take to see if I'm poisoned? And they'll say, oh, no, there's no way to test it. They're devils, okay? That's what we're fighting, the devils and the demons. You got to take care of this holy temple. Please listen to what I'm going to say here, what this says. This is horrifying. Oh, my word. I hope when you see this, you'll go to your fridge, and if you got any of these things in there with it, especially mixed with what it says here, okay? Another study highlighted more potassium sorbate dangers. In this study, when potassium sorbate was combined with ascorbic acid, it caused DNA damaging activity. Ascorbic acid is more commonly known as vitamin C. Okay? Well, look at this, man. Here you got apple cider. Beautiful looking stuff, okay? And the ingredients, it says, contains pasteurized apple cider, potassium sorbate added for freshness. But I want you to see if you can. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but right above my index finger there, can you see what it says? Vitamin C. 6%. 6% of what was supposed to be in this apple cider, man. Vitamin C. Very healthy. Very healthy. So what do? Another study highlighted more potassium sorbate dangers. In this study, when potassium sorbate was combined with ascorbic acid, it caused DNA damaging activity. Ascorbic acid is more commonly known as vitamin C, and it's at 6% in this here apple cider. 6%. potassium sorbate is added to the vitamin C. For what? To cause DNA damaging activity. Ascorbic acid, more commonly known as vitamin C, and is common in many foods, particularly with canned fruits or soda drinks. It is very possible to be eating a combination of potassium sorbate and ascorbic acid. Yes, indeed, they're killing you. They're not killing me, because I won't touch the crap. If it's got something in there I don't know what it is, I don't put it in my holy temple anymore. Side effects of potassium sorbate. While research is still being done on how toxic potassium sorbate is, they don't even know. But it says we already know many. There's many, not just one or two things. It's not like slamming your dang thumb with a hammer. Okay, the side effect is ow. Okay, there's one side effect. It hurts like hell. Okay, and then it just has to heal. But here, this toxic potassium sorbate, it says how toxic. They shouldn't even say how in front. They should just say they've done tests on this toxic potassium sorbate. They already know many of the adverse side effects it can cause. Then it talks about the skin irritation, the redness, the rashes, burning, watering eyes, other reactions. Now it also talks about respiratory problems, and you'll find the same kind of wording as these things going on when they were putting phosphates and phosphorus into dish liquid. The housewives back many years ago when they used to wash dishes by hand, okay, they would put the dish liquid in the water and they would come down, many of them, with skin irritations, with redness, with rashes. They break out in hives. Sometimes the skin would just burst open, okay, and it was a deadly poison. So what they did was they stopped putting it in the dish liquid. Some of the laundry soaps still have it in it, and some dish liquids may still also, depending on what country or whatever, I don't know. But, you know, the point is they take it out of the dish liquid and they put it in your food. And then when you come down with these skin rashes, the irritation, the asthma, the bronchitis, all these different kind of cardio things, and respiratory problems, and kidney shutting down. Okay, that's what the phosphates do, is they turn your organs into calcium, basically, you know, into hard rock. That's what they do to your organs, because they keep building up, and so does this potassium sorbate. Does the same thing. It's got all these different things, all these reactions, and many more. So your doctor can give you a skin cream that most likely has potassium sorbate in it too. All right? That's a mad, mad world, people. You know, if you think I'm crazy, hell yes I am. I'm mad crazy. I really am. But if you take a look at most any crazy person, they're crazy for a reason, and they know at least one thing. And I'm telling you, I know one thing, and that's the Holy Scriptures. I know our King. I know our Heavenly Father sent him. I know that he says that we must not defile this holy temple. So please, people, you know, before you get into eating these things, please, just throw them out. Throw them out. Don't ever use it again. Take a look at what potassium sorbate is doing to you, and not so much you. To hell with you. Look what it's doing to your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and the generations to come. You're responsible for them now, so please, people, you know, let's stop these things, you know, and let's get back on the road to health and piss off the Illuminati, okay? Let's survive. Let's keep that number above 500 million that they think they can control a whole lot easier than they are right now. You know what I'm saying? So let's eat wise, people. You know, I mean, if you can't read an ingredient, please don't put it into your holy temple. Keep it far away. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. There's plenty of vegetables and stuff out there you can eat. There's plenty of canned food. Okay, there's sauces, you know, spaghetti sauce and such, that all it'll have in there is like tomatoes and salt and water or something, you know, and that's it. If it's got these other things, phosphates and potassium or calcium or whatever it is, if it's got something else in there, please reject it. You don't need it that bad. Especially your processed meats and your processed foods, you don't need it. It's bad enough like fast food and such are putting the babies, you know, abortions and a lot of these missing children into their hamburgers. You can read about, you can look at that on YouTube. It's been in newspapers, it's been on the news, you know, that, you know, not singling out McDonald's because it's been in most all the fast foods, you know, and all the sausage and hamburger out there in the stores. They're finding human DNA. They're finding human meat in it. They're turning y'all into cannibals to keep you from getting salvation. Satan figures, hey, you know, while they're eating it willfully there, Yahweh, you know, I mean, they eat each other. You've seen what they were doing. They all need to die. They all need to visit me in hell. Let's get out of hell. Okay, I'm giving you the get out of jail free card right now. Keep the 10 Commandments, the 613 laws, the ones that apply to you. Keep those and put your trust in our King. And do what the scriptures say. It says not to defile your holy temple. Let's start, you know, right there. Let's start eating clean and not eat, like I say, don't pay your preachers, you know. If they're not going to teach you the difference between the clean and the unclean, and the holy and the profane or unholy, that's what these are. These potassium sorbate here. This is in phosphorus and phosphates and all these other added poisons, and some of them are deadly drugs. Okay, some of them you can only get with a prescription from your doctor, and yet you can find them in your food, FDA approved. Okay, and then you got the Heart Association approving these things too, because it's killing you. They're all of the same dang organization. You know, it's all incorporated. All the corporations in America are incorporated into the United States of America Corporation, which is incorporated into England, you know, Britain, whatever, into the Queen's Corporation, which is all incorporated into the Vatican, which is all incorporated into the Zion, and it just goes up the ladder. Okay, they're not here to protect you people. And like it says, if the days weren't shortened, you know, there'd be no flesh saved. And we're killing ourselves because we're not paying attention. We're not looking at the path that we're on. Like I say, you know, I read where it's mixed with vitamin C, it damages. It's proven. It damages your DNA permanently. Let's not do this anymore. I love y'all, man, but I'm going to go cry, I think. This is horrible. Shalom.